Hi! Hey guys, my name is Chanel Perrillo, and I'm a casting director and producer based in Los Angeles. I've cast shows like Drag Race, F-Boy Island, the Real Housewives franchise, and Million Dollar Listing, to name a few. I want to welcome you to Shut Up Chanel, a podcast where I take you through my LGBTQIA+ journey, while each week I get to chat with the queer royalty that helped shape me. Buckle up, because I know you're going to want to tell me to shut up.
Shut up, Chanel! Shut up, Chanel! Chanel, shut up! Shut up, shut up, shut up, Chanel! Shut up, Chanel! Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, Chanel! Shut up, shut up, shut up, Chanel!
She's the mistress of the macabre and the pioneer of spook chic glamour, known for her spellbinding art performances and some other things. She's the reigning monarch of darkness and the undisputed winner of RuPaul's Drag Race, Season 4. Welcome to the stage.
Just gotten it. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Thank God. I'm so bad at any of this.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm about to interview you for a television show.
Yeah.
I am.
I love television.
Oh my God. Okay, for those listening.
You look great, by the way.
Thank you. I
should have done a fun background.
You know, this was Delta Works' idea. She told me that there were really great. It was perfect. Don't touch it.
With this little pumpkin lid from Home Goods.
I think you look fierce, and you look really good.
I thought about turning a look, but you know me too well.
This is turning a look, though.
Okay.
Yeah, you give me a look. Wait, for those listening, like, this really is a catch up because Sharon and I. Well, first off, oh my God, I haven't even announced who's here.
Oh, I didn't even know we were going. God, thank God.
We are going. We are going.
Well, good. You look absolutely beautiful today. You never age.
Oh my God. I was hoping, your opinion of me's always mattered.
I was thinking the other day, I was walking down the street, and you see those classic kind of city junkies on the street.
Yeah.
And someone was just like, what does it take? It must take hard living to look like that. And I'm like, I don't think so, because you and me have proven in the 30-some years of our lives that you can do some hard living and still come out looking pretty decent.
I will say, Sharon, though, like, the past couple of years, I really have taken care of myself, and I think you would be very proud of me.
Yeah, well, it certainly shows, and it won't be any surprise to any of your listeners that I've had a pretty up and down 3 years, and putting myself into better positions has been a priority as well. So it shows.
I know, and I'm excited to actually catch up. Botox, just a little bit of Botox. Ooh. We went through our filler years. We went through all of that. I'm sure we have both gotten things. I bet you've had a little bit of some things dissolved.
Oh yeah. The only fillers that are left is just unfortunate scar tissue from constant stabbing of needles. But I never shared them.
Well, let me do your intro. I already did an intro before we hit record, but I like to say the intro to you just so you could hear it. She is the mistress of the macabre.
Yeah, well, yeah.
The pioneer of spook chic glamour.
Yeah.
Known for her spellbinding art and performances, and a couple other things. She is the reigning monarch of darkness and the undisputed winner of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 4. Welcome to the stage, Sharon Needles.
Thank you, everyone. I can hear the applause globally.
When doing this podcast, though, I really wanted to start at the beginning of my gay ass journey and all the people that I kind of met along the way. Now, you're way back in the timeline.
Yeah, I went from the future of drag to barely rememberable, but time only goes in one direction, forward.
Exactly. It's all about being better, not bitter, right?
That's right.
So I like to start each episode with how we met. So tell me how you and I met, and then I'll take it from there.
How I remember it. Well, I would have to take it back the night before, actually. People preparing for RuPaul's Drag Race. I believe they get a month, maybe 5 weeks now. In my season, as you may remember, as working for the show at that time, is we had about 5 days from the thumbs up to the airplane. Being a punk rock drag queen of certain means, I knew it was going to be really hard to prepare for the show. Also, being a lifelong procrastinator, I was also kind of bogged down by you can't make this shit up, which I'm famous for. Nothing can happen to me without it being layered with you can't make this up. My partner at the time, Alaska Thunderfuck 5000, was also slated to be cast on my season, was told just 5 days before that. So it was really hard to prepare for the biggest thing in my life while this blubbering, crying mess was living in my house. So I really put it off. I packed for my season of RuPaul's Drag Race season 4 the night before on no sleep to get to that plane, just throwing garbage, not even knowing what was in there. And I even did a show the night before, which included an extreme amount of alcohol. And I remember it was my first time flying to Los Angeles. I had never been there before, and I'd only flown maybe one time before that. And you were the first shining face that I saw as I stumbled to that carousel to pick up my 5 completely broken bags and garbage bags filled with drag, with nothing but my 5-inch Bowie boots and my 1970s knitted clown Touches, who was unfortunately edited out of most of season 4. But I just remember seeing you smile and then just kind of having this look of, what have we done here? Do you remember it the same way?
I remember it the exact same way. Season 4 was the first season that I was like given more responsibility, and I had already kind of gone through like the run of everything with season 3. And so season 4, I was like, this is it. Like, I am gonna kill this season. I was so like hands-on, and I remember like working with the PAs that would pick you up at the airport, and I was like terrified that like you guys were gonna run into each other. And so I, at one point, like, you and another queen had arrived at the airport at the same time, and I was like, I'm gonna go in and distract Sharon while you grab the other queen and bring them to the airport. And they were like, okay. So I'm not the airport, back to the hotel. So yeah, I go to the okay, and mind I tell you, at this point, like, I was friends with like glamour drag queens. And like Raja, you know, like Raja was like my cutting edge queen of the time. And so I was so used to picking up these queens that like, they just didn't look like you. And when you were at that carousel, like, you looked like this, like Jim Morrison, like you, like rock star, like you still smelled like whiskey and beer. You were like, had a cigarette in your mouth, like leather. You had leather pants on. I was like, who the fuck flies in leather pants?
Apparently people that don't fly very often.
Exactly. And yeah, that was the first time we met. And I don't even know when it came to be that like we got so close on set. And like, given now that I've been reflecting back on season 4, talking to like Willem, Latrice, I interviewed Jiggly the other day, which was like so great because I hadn't talked to her in forever, and she gave me memories from I just can't believe all of that was season 4, because it seems like so much happened that season.
Right. I think a big part of it is you were entering being a reality star television mother more than just a PA. And I was the one contestant was like a kid in the candy store at all times. You know, for me being the punk rock bitch of that season, I really didn't break rules. I really gave up that phone. I really believed in this system because of my obsession with television and fame and always wanting it and knowing someone like me was never going to get it. I always think you just got off on watching me, just like when you made fun of me for not realizing the workroom didn't have a ceiling, or that the walls were made out of removable plastic and those weren't real bricks. And I think you just liked living vicariously through my dream of Hollywood because you kind of had the same one.
That's totally it. No, that is totally it. And I was gonna have you like when I first met Sharon. Everything that I would bring you to, it was like almost like a letdown. Like the ride from the airport to the state studio, it was like, this is LA. And then like we get to the set, and like you said, like the walls weren't really made of brick. And the best was when I walked you to the Interior Illusions Lounge for the first time. Please describe to the listeners what you thought the Interior Illusions Lounge was.
Well, if for newer listeners of your podcast, they might not remember that before it was kind of a backstage documentary style show. It was a heavily produced kind of a Bravo edition catfight series where it was based in a gold bar and a silver bar. Now, I didn't really think the gold bar was made of real gold, but I was pretty sure they had the budget for real silver in the Silver Lounge. I thought these were grand ballrooms of mass proportions of gold and Swarovskis and glitter, and they were just these two crammed extra office rooms where there were two extra interview rooms that probably, I would say the gold bar and the silver bar were 8 by 16 feet. They were shoe boxes, and I was mesmerized by the magic of Hollywood at that moment.
I remember just the walk to there. We had to like walk through set. It was like on carpet. You were like, Chanel, I just imagined us walking down this long hallway of like marble tile. But it so goes to it was like your first taste of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. And which is shocking because as someone whose job is to create smoke and mirror, I was fascinated by the process.
I also watched you really like, you were one of like the first queens that I really saw like become their character. In a sense that like you were this like sweet, to me, you were just this like sweet little boy that like wanted to come to Hollywood, but like the second the makeup came on, like you were a different person. Like you really did embody this character. Now, as the years went on, the two seemed to become one, in my opinion. But at that moment when I met you, they seemed pretty separate. What do you think?
Well, they
about
say
that?
don't let fame change you. That's such a stupid thing to say. People who work on their craft for decades go to Broadway. Needy attention seekers with parent issues go to Hollywood. And so it's so easy for you to kind of forget those things. But also, there's a power to reality television that is unscripted. And a lot of reality shows are scripted. A lot of people believe Drag Race is very scripted. It isn't. At least season 4 really wasn't. You know, you take a giant black previously incarcerated divine impersonator. You take a smaller person in stature but with power like Kenya Michaels. You take an old silicone legend. You take all these damaged people. It was so easy to write a show, but there is something about talking about things you don't want to talk about for 16 hours a day that really bring out an it in you that really wasn't there. Like I didn't go there to cry all the time. I didn't go there to talk about bullying. I didn't go there because I never wanted to have pity. In fact, I really wanted my best to kind of even more manipulate and cultivate how I really was on TV, but it turned to be really hard.
It did. What are, well, let's start with like what are your happiest memories of your time on Drag Race?
Well, one, it is the happiest. It is the happiest time of my entire life. A lot of people, and it's easy for me to say because I won, but a lot of people who lost will say I didn't expect it to be that hard or I was edited in a bad light. I felt like I was at the summer camp that I never had. I woke up at 7 in the morning, had coffee with Chad Michaels, where we had our morning cigarette. I enjoyed being in a van and feeling like a star. I just love that, you know, it was camp, you know, you show up at 7 in the morning. If we were good, you'd bring us cake pops and Starbucks. And if we weren't good, and made good TV, brought us more cake pops.
I would try anything to bribe you all because there were moments, and I've talked about it in the previous episodes where, like, I mean, even Willem, we remember the whole Willem, like, wanting to go home moment. But there was, season 4 was hard, and it really did challenge all of you.
Me, if I think it challenged me the least because I had nothing to lose. I was just a poor punk drunk Pittsburgh clown with a really mad Alaska to go home to. So I was just every single day I knew I was privileged to be there, and I knew we would have conversations saying, I think they've made a terrible mistake. You know, like I would look around at the costumes in the room, and I was making, you know, treasure out of trash and just selling it on runways by just bullshitting my way through it. I think that's half of Hollywood anyway. It's just bullshitting your way through things.
It's smoke and mirrors, like we said.
I always had a good time and just and we had such a great camaraderie in our cast. Like sure, me and Fifi had our moments, but I still to this day knew she wanted to kind of cultivate this bullshit. Because I remember when the cameras would shut off with Fifi, I'd be like, whoa, that went a little too far, don't you think? She'd be like, don't talk to me. We'd have to have separate drivers and separate. But now looking at in retrospect, I think y'all got us separate drivers and separate security to keep us going. I don't think anyone had any fear that there was going to be any true violence or anything. But like what you asked me, like what are my favorite moments is just showing up so scared and walking into a zombie apocalypse and seeing Elvira and just being like, okay, this shit is getting real fun. It's hard for me to think of really great things about the time because it was the happiest time. And like maybe when we went to Coney Island, or excuse me, to Venice Beach. Of course, the zombie. All my 4 wins were really good times. You and me calling each other a dick pig every day. And do you still have that drawing, by the way?
I do.
You and me picking on Casey, the unforgivable, unfortunate PA.
We've brought her up a couple times.
But if you ask me what a worst time was, it would be really hard for me to pick one. But I will say the saddest one is I was the last one to walk out of that workroom, and I'm such a cinematic person. You know, I worship the altar of Andy Warhol, and so I think everything is a movie. And I remember being on the exit to set, which would be opposite to entrance to workroom, and watching those black doors just close over RuPaul's smiling face for the last time. And I said, remember this. It was a very moving moment because I knew it would never happen again.
But you didn't know that, but you secretly did.
It was the end of something that I did that, and because RuPaul's Drag Race was my favorite TV show. I was still one of those people who are a fan. And it was such a new show. There was only 3 seasons. There wasn't so much. The tail hadn't began to wag the dog. The formula wasn't so the same. It wasn't the contestants were raised on Drag Race. You know, it's like my blood, sweat, and tears. Because my day, you didn't choose to be a drag queen. You were forced into it because it was a part of your soul. A drag queen is something you avoided. You weren't going to get laid. It was dangerous. Other queer people would consider you undesirable. There wasn't a lot of drag queens. So like to see my passion since the 90s now become a show that we all got together at Randy's old house. He doesn't live there anymore anyway, but
yeah, that was your spot. That's where you would watch.
Where 30 of my friends would cram and watch it together and then be inside my TV set. And honestly, since I was 4 years old, all I ever wanted to do was be in that glowing box of storytelling. And it was magical. Best thing I ever done.
But that's what I saw in you. And I mean, your season, I actually did meet you on camera before you came to Drag Race because I was a part.
Angela, was that her name?
Angela Weingrad, shout out. She's still in casting. We love Angela.
Why we all got our lips done.
Yeah, Angela totally had lips before I even thought that was a possibility. But I remember Angela and I seeing your tape, and there was such vulnerability with you. And you were such an underdog type character where it was like you were a fan of the show before people were fans. I just knew that about you. I knew that like you were coming and as I grew to knew you, like you were such a fan of drag. And I had hung out with all these other queens and none of them had I hadn't heard the passion of drag and the way that they, you know what I mean? Yeah, it was just so refreshing. It was so refreshing to meet you. And like, I can't believe you brought up the one time we had a dark day and there was only the top three and we had like nothing else to do and I totally took Sharon to the beach for her first time.
Because I never saw the ocean.
Had never seen, this is what I mean. I felt like
I
this
mean, I
duty
I
to be there for you. And I
I
don't
I
know
never
what it
really
is.
broke rules. I never really broke rules, but like one of the few rules I'd break is me and Dita Ritz would walk to the fire escape in the hotel, and I wouldn't leave the hotel, but I would climb up to the roof, and you could see the Hollywood sign, and I would just sit there and I would stare at it every night, and I would just look at Dita and be like, "Can you believe we're gonna be so fucking famous?" Like fame, fame is so tantalizing to to the beat down fucking faggot, like
Mm-hmm.
it is the last Santa Claus. It is gay Xanax. And I would stare at the time, only before you have it. Once you have it and you're like, oh, that wasn't real. That was
Well, that's because I
the
do want
perks,
to
the
go.
perks are nice. The perks are nice, but
I mean, we are going to go into the rock star years because we really fucking lived like rock stars. But before that, we're still talking about, vulnerable fangirl Sharon who came here with a dream to become famous. And halfway through the season, I had a feeling. Like, I was like, this queen is like no one they've seen before. She's not like any LA queen I've ever seen before. You really did have this ability to take like a dirty t-shirt and make it look fucking cool. Like you made
and
me want
win.
to you made me want to like, and I had always been like a little punk rock girly and you were my Jim Morrison. You like really were. And I don't know what our bond was, but I know that like I never wanted to be away from you.
I'm not a very spiritual person, but when it comes to the historical queer world of chosen families, it is almost like godliness because you're just like, I don't know why. I don't know why you're in, but you're in. You and me, it was very familial.
It
Very
was. It was like
little sister, big sister, mom, creepy uncle.
I was still figuring myself out. I still didn't have boobies. I got my boobies after season 4, and the whole season, it's all I talked about to everyone.
Yep. Season 4 money was gonna be your boob money.
It was gonna be my boob money. I would even like tell Rue, like I would steal Crafty from set so that I wouldn't have to eat. I would go to the hotel early in the morning to get free breakfast. Like I had a plan. I only ate food on set. Then after set, I would drop you guys off at the hotel and I would go straight home, not eat, maybe hook up with that one PA I used to hook up with.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. As long as he's buying drinks, we're saving money here.
We're saving money here, people. But that was it. Like that was my life, and that's why I really did. It makes sense why I like got so sucked in. And it's just impossible to throw a girl on set with drag queens for 16 hours a day and like I wasn't going to get attached to you. Get out of here.
Yeah, you were the epitome of what any reality show should want in their PA, with sprinkles of everything that was obviously going to get you fired. What?
Sprinkles. And the thing is, I was so young. Like looking back now, I'm like, oh my God, Chanel, like all those mistakes. But like they weren't really mistakes because you can't grow unless you make mistakes. And I wouldn't be where I am right here, right now, sitting talking to you had I not been through those.
That's right.
All of it. Like it's all part of the story. So like that's something I wish I knew back, like say maybe 10 years ago. Like I wish I knew that like
Well, hindsight's 2020, and that's coming from me. Trust.
Yeah, so Sharon killed it on fucking RuPaul's Drag Race season 4. She shocked and awed everyone. And I knew it was getting, like, I think it was hard for some of the other, like, season queens to see this newbie.
Oh, yes, I heard it. I heard it
Yeah,
loud and clear.
yeah, I did. And so,
But I think the best way for me to let season queens or pageant queens get on board with me is how much I knew about their styles of drag, how much I knew about their cultures, how much they've inspired me. And that was a really good way for me to bridge that gap between street style queens and rhinestone queens, or comedy queens and pageant queens. Or
I don't even think people got to see how close you and Chad Michaels were your season.
It was disturbing.
Because I don't even know if it made it in the edit. Like, I really do need to go back and rewatch season 4. I think
Yeah, me too.
I think it's time.
It's time.
It's totally time. But yeah, you and Chad, and you were a fan. Like, that was like you getting to work with your idol.
Oh yeah, I gagged. Yeah. Do you know how hard it was to try and talk her out of doing Sheriff the Snatch Game? I felt like I was belittling a mother, because that's pretty much all I brought that a guy could have used. Me and Chad's connection, it was just instant. It was just instant.
Mm-hmm.
But Chad is also a weirdo. Like, she seems like that true polished queen, but she knows her Hellraisers. She knows her it clowns. She knows,
Mm-hmm.
she's a great Rolodex of pop culture and sub pop culture. And that her daughter's working with Mike. She's a freak too. Chad's more of a freak than you think. She plays good girl real well on TV. But I think the testament to my friendship with Chad Michaels, though it wasn't showed very much on film, is when Robin Mansions, the straight guy, came on set and like almost physically assaulted Chad Michaels, and it shows me on camera saying, "Don't you ever call my sister a bitch." And that was the first time I ever walked off set. Because we'd walk off set because we wanted cigarettes, so we'd fake a boo-boo thing. Like, oh, we're sad. But I don't know if you remember that day very well, but it was very, very heated. And Chad asked that him not return for the next day for the runway challenge. And
I totally forgot about this.
He said he was going to strike her. If you ever miss that guy and don't want to watch season 4, he's one of the cops in Till the World Ends, Britney Spears episode. So Britney Spears video, Till the World Ends. So I'm glad to see that he propelled from Drag Race into a fruitful acting career.
Oh my God!
But Chad Michaels kept me alive through that, and we were thick as thieves and hot glue to each other that whole season. It really doesn't show, but it is true.
It's so true, and that's something I totally wanted to bring up because there was so much other stuff going on that was just like a storyline that never.
Like, I invented Mother Dust because I was trying to create Dusted and Busted. I was trying to keep a tradition alive in the Drag Race vernacular of boogers and heathers, but it just didn't stick.
I still Mother Dust. Oh my God! I mean, your Michelle Visage is still one of my favorite Snatch Games of the show ever.
And it was made that morning.
I remember you telling me something you were gonna do, and I was like, "What was it?"
I had Gaga, Cher, Freddy Krueger, and Pee Wee Herman. At the time, you couldn't use male characters. All right, hold on. That's not an alarm. It's my cat.
Sharon's a huge cat person.
I'm a huge cat person.
I'm a dog person.
We'll get to that. We'll get to dog after a brief message from Casper Mattress. Now you lost me. Anyway, me and Chad were thick as thieves, but our season was pretty clicky.
We were talking Snatch Game and why you chose.
Snatch Game. Yeah. Fifi was going to do the Little Mermaid, and they said you can do it, but you just have to say mermaid. Can't say the Little Mermaid. And she goes, "No, that's going to sound stupid." And I'm like, "Well, they couldn't Disney pass it." And I had my Gaga, and I wanted to do Gaga because RuPaul's always famously said she's a big personality. No one has ever done her well. And I was like, but I can because I don't suck her dick. You know, I'm not gonna fucking worship her and rah rah. But I knew
But
how
and you and Alaska would dress up as Lady Gaga and go to her shows.
me and Alaska, yes, when me and Alaska were broke, we would ride our bikes to Gaga concerts dressed as Gaga and sell pictures with us. And then we'd always end up getting free tickets in.
I wrote that in the comments of something of Alaska's once, and so many people liked it. I was like, remember when you and Sharon used to go to her concerts and sell pictures of yourselves dressed up? And now
if you look at the Terry Richardson coffee book, the coffee table picture book that he did for the Fame Monster Ball, it's only pictures of Gaga except for one picture, and it's a picture of me in Alaska.
That's so cool.
I know. And before Drag Race, we just thought we've made it. We're on page 237 of a problematic photographer's coffee book.
Wait, so it's all Fifi? It's all Fifi's. So it's all your fault that Fifi did Lady Gaga?
Well, no. So I had Gaga, and she couldn't do Mermaid / Little.
Yeah.
So Ru was doing her walkarounds, and she threw a Gaga costume on her mannequin real quick when I was already prepped for Gaga. And she just looked at me and she goes, guess there'll be 2 Gagas. May the best Gaga win.
I remember that.
And I was excited about that because I knew I loved beating her at anything. It was because she'd always telling me like, oop, this isn't your challenge. And I'll be like, we'll see about that, you tan fucking freak.
She knew everything to say to piss you off.
And motivate the shit out of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I said, I don't want 2 Gagas. I'm sitting with my friends in Pittsburgh on a TV in my mind saying, what would I think about that? And I would have said, Sharon, I would have expected better out of you. I would have expected you to pull something out of your ass. And you can hear, the sound stages are pretty soundproof for the needs of cameras, except for one sound. And that is the sound of Michelle Visage's laugh. And you can hear it in any place in that studio. It's a huge professional studio. It's like, and I said, I got a black wig. Chad Michaels has got a breastplate. Let's go. And because I knew I could look at Ru and say, remember Ru, you and me, 1989, J Train, Suzanne Barge party. You were picking me up from, because I knew their entire dynamic. I knew their radio history. I knew, because I may have dropped out of high school at 15, but this Rolodex of pop culture is second to none to maybe Michael Musto. But I knew I could play off of letting Ru know that I might be young, but I'm not dumb, and I might not win, but I'll cast through. And from what I'm seeing from that Gaga, I know I want the terribleness of that Gaga to shine more without me being a good Gaga and me just being a middle of the road Michelle Visage.
I mean, I remember you doing the in-person, because I remember I second guessed you, like Michelle Visage, and then you started.
Because I was going to apply a prosthetic nose, because for some reason I just thought she was a little more Streisand than I thought. But
it was the nails. It was my favorite. You were like, Ru, me and you at Limelight. Like, it was just so spot on. And Ru was peeing himself, and like a real laugh. And when she's fake laughing, but she was really laughing. And it was moments like that. That's why you like kept surprising me. And I just kept falling more in love with Sharon Needles.
Well, back at you, babes.
Before we go into our love affair, I'm just kidding. I wanted you to tell.
But it was believed.
It was, yes. Michelle Visage used to really think that we had sex with each other. I'm just going to say it. But we never had sex with each other, people.
We have never.
And I didn't even try it like with Detox. like I admit to really trying it with Detox. But no, We were like like cuddle bear siblings. I mean, you might have tried it.
Yes,
You may have tried it a couple times.
that's absolutely not true.
Okay, but I want you to tell the listeners like where it all began. Like, where did you grow up, and what was your family like growing up?
I grew up in a small town called Newton, Iowa. Population 1,500, known for two things or three things like agriculture, Maytag, dishwashers, and dryers is what kept our town alive. And Time magazine in 1996 claimed it the meth capital of the world. And I might have dabbled in just one of those three things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe two. I will dabble with a Maytag dishwasher and dryer, especially if I've been up for days. I'll separate your colors and your whites, girl. I was a very imaginative kid, probably obviously severe ADHD, but we didn't call it that in the 80s. We just called it rambunctious kids. In fact, I think all kids from the 80s have ADHD because we ate too much food dyes and Mountain Dews in our bottles. I wasn't particularly shy, but my environment made me very shy because my Nelly was just so obvious so quick. Like the fact that I was different was quick. And I also got way taller than everyone, faster. Anything that you could that I could visually or audibly be scrutinized for in a small town, I got it. And my parents, I am really lucky. So like you're either in agriculture or you're in manufacturing, but my dad, was a counselor in a maximum security prison. My mom, who came up from some pretty poor upbringings, was very motivated to get out of that, and went back to school and worked in advertising for magazines. So I had pretty liberal parents, so I could have had it way worse. So when I was at home, I was a very happy kid. Just outside of that world, it was always a war zone. Always a war zone. My first memories are war zones. I think that's why I'm punk. I think it's why I say shit I know I'm not supposed to say. I know it's why I test people's taste levels, because I'm like making up for lost time of not defending myself. So then I probably dropped out of high school like 15 and got to the Hollywood of Iowa, Des Moines. It's the lights of Des Moines are like none other. I remember the first time I got to Des Moines, I snuck up to the barn and I looked up that big sign that said Des Moines up in the hills, and I said, God damn it, Dieter Ritz, we're going to be stars.
That's what you call callback, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, taking it back.
Yeah, take it back.
And at that time, I had some, I was poor, a lot of times homeless, but never unhappy. I found my tribe. There was a place called the Gay Loop in Des Moines, Iowa, Illinois Avenue along the Raccoon River across from the Botanical Center. And it is where unhomed or homeless or needed to get out of their family situation hangout of queer youth up into like the 300s. Every night.
Wow, that's like a compound.
No, it was just a street. It was just a lawless street, and that's where I learned. That's where I learned kind of like the seedy underbelly of queer life very very early. Drugs, prostitution, homelessness, sick old men being taken advantage of, sometimes not even caring, and hanging out with street kids and punks and romanticizing bad stuff. Now, this is a very 90s thing, like.
Oh, I remember romanticizing bad stuff. I remember the first.
Yeah,
even.
Well, you haven't even had sex with 10 people. I've had sex with like 12 people. And you were like so proud of it. Oh, yeah.
Right?
I smoked a whole pack. You didn't even inhale.
This is so.
I smoked meth. Tried that. It was a romanticizing of who could outbat each other, and that isn't anything new to me. This is a very common thing with people whose childhoods were robbed of their fun and replaced with terror, and now you're like, I'm making up for this with adult toys. Which it's like a dick, smoking meth, and shoplifting and stealing cars.
You stole a car?
Oh, one car, singular. I've stolen many cars, not recently.
No, I know. No, let the record show that Sharon Needles has not stolen any cars
I
recently.
can't. Drinking and driving's illegal.
And I would know something about that. You would be, woo woo, you'd be so proud of me. I just bought myself a black Jeep and it's so cute. And
Oh, congratulations.
there's,
I
yeah.
I could have a black Jeep too. You've been in it.
Oh my God. I mean, Sharon has had me we've been in two hearses of yours together. The second one was the real nice one with like, I remember you picked me up and oh my God, these stories. We would drive around Pittsburgh and she had one hearse that had a police. It still had the police siren in it. And we would drive around Pittsburgh with the siren on. And I thought I was so cool. But I think that's what it is. I think you remind
No, that's a moment you were pretty cool.
I was fucking really cool. Like, you had just won Drag Race. I'm driving around in a hearse. Like, it was. And that was the second time, because I even talked to Alaska about this. There was the first trip to Pittsburgh and then the second trip, and both were very different from each other. One was not the same. But I really do think we bonded over that, like, rebel inside, like that rebel that was inside of me, I saw in you. Like, you were a projection of what I always kind of wanted to be. Like, I remember being little and like wanting to be goth so bad, but like knowing my family would like never love me if I like, and so I would like skate on it. You know, I would skate on the edge. I would like dye my hair black and like wear a little eyeliner, but like I couldn't wear like a Satan shirt because I like was raised Catholic. But that made me want to like wear a Satan shirt even more. You know what I mean? And
I was raised queer Catholic in Iowa. That's a big part of it too.
yeah, and so yeah, you were like you were a projection of the rebellion that like I kind of always wanted. That fucking rock star that like I always dreamt of like running away with like a rock band and like being on the road, and like that's what I kind of did with drag queens, you know what I mean? Like they became my rock stars, and
Right.
that's how I kind of like fulfilled that prophecy or whatever.
Since I was like a street kid, I was surrounded by drugs, prostitution, and weirdos at a really young age. I train hopped. I lived in tents. I lived in hippie communes in Colorado. I ran around the world. When I got to Drag Race, I really wanted that to show, because Drag Race was slowly telling the viewer that, and not as bad as it got, but they were slowly telling the viewer just by colors of the imagery it was very pink, which allows the viewer to think this is safe, this is nice, this is feminine, this is doll-like. Then we also are sharing a lot of our hard stories. RuPaul making us talk to little pictures. I knew I wanted to go to let every young punk rock and roll faggot who was watching that to know, like, we do exist. Because I wasn't just gay, I was gay and weird. I was kind of ostracized by my own queer community too, because, you know, I was more Marilyn Manson than Marilyn Monroe. So that was a really big thing I did on that show, is take those life experiences that were cool and let little town Sharons know there's a fucking way out of there, because so they don't get too blinded by the pink and the crybaby stories and the soft music of redemption and being a role model. Because that we know damn well what drag queens are.
Well, and that is the thing. And I saw you doing that, and that's why like throughout towards the end I was like, I don't even know if Sharon's ready for the impact that she's going to have.
You told it to me every day. You said you said those exact words. You go, you don't even know what you have done.
Because I knew that was a subculture, because that was a subculture within a subculture that you were speaking to, and you were speaking directly to them. And I knew that it was going to like, Like, I knew you were going to break into the mainstream. And after season three, I was like, oh, this show's gonna be mainstream. Like, but I was still having to like explain it to every straight person I knew. None of my girlfriends understood it. Like, you know, it was like a constant having to like explain to people what drag even is. And then when you were so like it was on the edge of like being punk rock. I mean, not on the edge, but like it was punk rock that I knew it could go mainstream because what you were doing was what Lady Gaga was doing. What, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I saw that in you.
It was a right time to strike.
It was, because I saw the impact that Lady Gaga had by having her little monsters, and the way that you were talking to these fans, you were talking to them like they were little monsters, and the little monster.
And that comes with some very applauded highs and some what I did not foresee very big lows.
Well, I want to go into that because a lot of people didn't get to see all that you kind of had to endure with fame.
Yeah.
What was that pressure like for you when you what was when was the moment you knew that you were famous?
It really started with the overwhelming support and fascination people had for my Meet the Queens video, because I was for the first time in previous seasons I was being booked previous to the airing date at booking fees no one had ever seen before, signing with David Charpentier and his he had other clients before, but there was something about me he took as like he saw magic in it, and he made me work harder than I think anyone was ever prepared to work for. I did 31 shows in 31 days. It was every single day, to sold out audience, to triple, quadruple, even more booking fees. There was something about Sharon Needles at that time is like something the show had never ever seen before. It was I can't even tell you what made me feel like fame was real. It was in a second. It was in a second the way the world dived. It was weird to see the populace get involved with something that was never supposed to be popular by design, by me, and by the world's fear of allowing in something different. And so I don't know when I felt the most famous, but I really felt it, and it didn't really feel all that good. It was far too much work, like work a human being couldn't do, because it was one full record, two world tours, working every day in America, also interview, club, another club, show, playing. No.
No, but that's what it became. And that's the thing is, I remember the progression.
And if I ever applaud myself for anything, it's I certainly set a brand new standard of what a cross-dresser on a game show on a channel nobody has could really accomplish and to nurture.
Mm-hmm. The show had ended. David, I knew because he had managed Manila and made me I'm first. And I remember him calling me and being like, I'm going to go meet with Sharon Needles. And I just knew your life was going to change. Like, I just knew it. I got asked to go to your first gig in Vegas because David knew I was so good at taking care of the girls. It kind of just evolved that I became a tour manager. Once especially, I knew I was kind of going to leave Drag Race, and I cared. Honestly, Sharon was the beginning of me caring about the girls after the show. Raja was fucking fine. After Drag Race, Raja was on tour with Adam Lambert, like living the dream. Manila had management. The other girls were always working. Like, Sharon was struggling. Sharon came to Drag Race with no money. Like, no, I remember buying you cigarettes. Like,
I remember Casey, the other PA, making fun of my cell phone that I turned in, and it embarrassed me so hard. And I was like, well, at least I turned it in.
And that's what like Sharon literally came with nothing. And I had talked on my Alaska episode about my first trip to Pittsburgh, so we don't need to tell everyone that story again. But that was, you still didn't have money then. We were still waiting for the show to be announced, and I went
straight to work. I
You went straight to work.
I went straight to a brick and mortar job the second I got back, because I had Nina Last to take care of.
I remember you worked at a Halloween store. Remember
Yep.
the beautiful tail?
Yeah. The blue cat with the beautiful tail.
I remember calling you one day and you're like, fuck Chanel. Like, we were like on set every day.
No listener wants to hear this story.
No, we're not telling the tale. But no, I do think there's something about, you go to Hollywood, you live out this dream, you won because this was before the multiple crownings. You knew you fucking won, right?
No, it was multiple crownings.
Oh, it was still multiple crownings at this point. Okay.
Because if they don't release those, if they don't release Fifi's crowning, the World of Wonder has done a disservice to the entire universe.
Release Fifi's crowning.
I don't think you remember it, but
I remember dramatics.
Yeah, the giant rhinestone falling off or slipping on it, the crown plopping off on her head, and the producer saying, "Should we reshoot that?" And we're going, "No, we're good."
We love you, Fifi. I really don't think Fifi listens to a pod. Oh my God. Okay, but like what I was getting at is that I saw that I knew that your life was going to change, and I knew you came from nothing, and I knew that like you were about to be making some money. And I had no idea how much you were going to be making. I thought like queens were making $150 a gig, and then Sharon Needles raised that to $1,000. Like you were the first queen to change the pay scale. Like that's right.
I don't think I ever made as low as 1,000.
What was I feel like the first show in Vegas, and this was pre-show. This was just after the Meet the Queens. I think you may have got one.
And I'm not bragging. I just couldn't believe how much money people were giving me to do barely anything.
People were giving her crazy amounts of money. So like it was crazy to witness you because I had known this, like it was crazy. And we were kind of both in it at the same time. Where I had no money, you had no money, then you started getting all this money, we're touring, it got very rock star. It was like hotel rooms, and Sharon, because she was new money, was like, you get $100, you get $100, we're gonna smoke in this hotel room, I'm just gonna leave them $100. Like, it was rock and roll shit, and I'll never forget that period of our life.
I'll never forget the day I couldn't fit all my money in my suitcase. So at Mickey's, I made Raja go up to the balcony that looks over, and we just threw. It was that rock and roll era where you're so stupid you don't think that's ever going away, and it's never going to change.
You do,
or you don't care.
Because you're so in the moment, and
so in the moment.
It's really hard because during those moments are so important to be present and stay to enjoy the ride. I think it means that
it's not happening again.
Well, you never say never, Noodles.
That's right. That's why that's the most inspiring thing to me about RuPaul is you can fucking become D-list filler on a game show for a decade and a half and reemerge.
This is what I mean, and your stories. Do you think? Michelle Visage was always so inspiring to me because I was like, this woman worked in radio, took a break, started a family, was just doing morning radio. And then this opportunity comes to her desk from her best friend. And now her life, she's another one. Her life is so different from the day I met her.
It
is.
And
that's so beautiful to watch. You know what I mean?
It's not just her talent and hard work, though. It's also that gray strip, which was all my idea. I'm taking full credit for it.
Take credit for it.
I know it's true, and I know she knows it's true, so I don't ever need her to admit it.
Oh, Michelle.
As long as she knows, I know, and that she knows that it's true.
Oh my God, Michelle.
But I tried to talk her into that gray strip since season 6.
I remember, and she wasn't ready for it.
She's like, no, people will think I'm evil, and I'm like, Michelle.
Yeah, I don't think she was I just don't think she was ready to embrace the gray yet.
She wasn't ready to embrace the gray.
Do you have any regrets?
Yeah. I mean, through my career,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. One, taking on the weight of fans' pain.
Well, that's what I was kind of leading to when I said that you weren't prepared for what you were given.
I
Yes,
don't,
you.
I don't get, I don't, you've seen my meet and greets. I don't get meet and greets saying, you better work, bitch, you're fierce. I would get, I would get lines around the block of crying, hurt, damaged, dark souled fans that were looking for me for a way out, and I was unprepared going into Drag Race. I had no time to, I was not prepped for that type of extreme fan base, and me trying to be there for them when I shouldn't have, me trying to, me feeling the weight of their pain turned into things that could have ended up being manipulative and sometimes dangerous. And yeah, I wish I could have allowed my art to be enough for my fans, and instead of trying to put a band-aid on every bullet hole in every single one of them. But everyone knows a Sharon fan is a different kind of fan. You've seen it. You've got to see Latrice fans like Jesus is a biscuit, or Willem's like fist me. But my fans in a not all of them, but in a large majority come from a darker place and a harder place, and that can take you emotionally down too, because I am an emotional chameleon.
Well,
Like
and that's the thing. You
the
didn't.
time I called Casey a fat bitch instead of a dick pig, I felt bad about that for 2 days. I take on the pain that's around me, but she was a fat bitch.
She hated the gays, so we could say
She hated the
whatever
gays, so
we
she.
want about her.
That's right. Remember her big. Remember her big.
This poor girl.
Why are we wasting time on this one
Yeah,
PA that
yeah.
said gays shouldn't get
She's made
married on
it
Drag
to
Race?
3 episodes. I'm like, can we cut it out? No.
But for your listeners at home, Casey was a homophobic
She was
female
a
PA that somehow snuck in.
She snuck in. But no, I reflecting back on everything, on like our experience, your experience, like I do think it was too much for you to take on. I think that you were taking on way too much. Fame alone is a lot on a person.
It's too much.
Then you add money. Then you add with
My
money
work schedule.
work schedule with that becomes excess because you're just trying to cope. So you're drinking more, you're partying more.
Oh yeah.
We were young too, so we could. And did we?
No, yeah. Yeah. Do I do drugs and drink? Yes. Do I remember going to bed every single night? Absolutely. That was an era of extreme excess, but it was also more to shut all that noise down. I got to work. I got a photo shoot. I'm reading a script. Out Magazine wants me to photograph her most influential queer person of the year. But then I got my tour. But then I have Mardi Gras in Sydney. But then I have this cruise ship. And I didn't just sell enough cruise ships to have one room. I sold every ticket on the goddamn boat. So now I have to hold the responsibility of all that. It was too much. I look forward to Bianca Del Rio. I was like, take some of this off me, bitch.
Please. I think it was a lot for you, and like I never thought that like anyone talked about that. Now, to not say that like that makes everything okay. You know what I mean? It's like we were all just kind of learning as we went.
Yeah, and there's a thing with fame that unfortunately but historically pulls out your inner child, and children tend to play and run around and not think about the consequences of their actions, of just like fuck it, like we'll fix it later, we'll fix it later, we'll fix it later, we'll fix it later, we'll fix it later. And It's certainly a good way for us to talk about it because people who are really seeking fame for the wrong reasons, it'll just show that you only want the goodies, and then it's not going to give you anything back because fame doesn't care about you because fame isn't real. Santa Claus isn't fucking real. God's not fucking real. Fame's not real. It's an ideology of self-soothing, and fame comes to people who are either full of themselves or people who need a ridiculous amount of love that they haven't gotten. But the thing is you can tell people this 10 million times over, and you can't tell no one nothing when it comes to the mysterious heroin-like high of fame, because you could look at someone and say you will die in 5 calendar years guaranteed, and they'll still be like, it's worth it, and they'll sign away.
So you don't regret anything?
No, I'm a human being. I regret a lot of things. I'm proud of a lot of things, but that is a book too heavy and too revised to be unpacked here on the Chanel Perrillo show right here. Let's talk about your regrets, you little monster.
I'm just saying, I don't think people have heard. I mean, I want people to hear your side of things, you know, and hear your voice.
There are side of things that if I'm reading that glittery lip room right, that some things I'm not going to talk about. Some things I'm currently legally in a way of not talking about.
Okay, good.
What?
I said okay. I get it.
Oh, I thought you said no. Okay, go. Sharon, have another PBR. We'll loosen you up.
Okay, I didn't want you to be uncomfortable. This conversation's going so well. I just think it's like good. We've been reflecting.
No, but I will say this.
Okay.
I will say this. I dress up as a girl, but I'm not a girl. I say Hail Satan at the end of my show. I don't worship a demon. My character has done a lot of things that I call transgressive artistic expression to make fun of the fucking things I hate about this world. And so instead of taking the old approach of standing at a podium and demanding change, a lot of Sharon Needles' art has always been about showing exactly what it is by making fun of it so hard. I like to take imagery that makes me so uncomfortable and throw some hot pink blush and 301 lashes on it so that queer people who might not have strong muscles here but might have a strong muscle here can sit back and use it to laugh with, because queer people have always had a great way of laughing at things, but the political and social world has gotten to such a place of cancel culture and saying the right thing, and it's worlds like that, like Reagan era 80s, that made pop culture go against the grain. Now, have I taken that really, really far? Yes. Are there extreme amounts of regret in there? Yes, because of the way I could have made anyone feel, which was not my intentions. That being said, I take a page from Dolly Parton where she says, I have my point of view and I have who I am, but I'm an entertainer, and it's just better to bring people together. And now I'm in my 40s, dressing up like Mickey Mouse covered in swastikas no longer brings me any punk rock joy of showing the history of Walt Disney and his affiliation with neo-Nazism, because those kind of imageries only can either get misconstrued or bastardized, or not. I need to quit defending myself and saying could be very hurtful to people. But I'll be held responsible for a lot of my past actions. I just have to make sure that going forward, I start to learn to play along with others better. Don't run with scissors, and be proud that I know that the people that really know me, from my family to my friends to industries to my fellow sisters, that they know who I am, and that reminds me that I'm not a completely rotten bag. That there's still some good bits in me.
There is. Are you fucking kidding me? You're all good. I always saw you for who you are, and
Venmo.
It killed me. It killed me to ever see you ostracized or any of the shit that kind of went down. It like really hurt. And I think that's why it's been so hard to like even talk to you sometimes. And we get emotional about that kind of stuff, like when we have gaps in our friendship.
Trust me. People who love me very much, especially in industry, have really backed away. One, they know they're in Hollywood right now, anyone's days are numbered. I mean,
no one is safe.
No one's safe. Once Ellen got kicked in the cunt, I was like, oh shit, you all better start scraping your fucking 20 years of social media.
But I really would never, like, those early days of Drag Race are something that, like, I mean, it'll never be like that again.
Well, I wouldn't say it was better or worse. It was just raw, and there wasn't enough seasons for us to compare it to. And they will always be the classic seasons. They will always be known as lifelong viewers of the show as their favorite. Anyone who's been a lifelong viewer has never said a later season is one of their preferred season, and not because of the talent or the beauty of the girls, but just because the show's been on for too goddamn long. The show's been on a really long time.
No, so like the fact it's been more than a decade since me and you.
Like, remember in season 4 when queens were like, do you think I could ever get on the race? And you're like, and now you're like, probably. You probably will.
Yeah, I didn't know how long that the show was.
I didn't even know you were already on it.
Right. No, there were like, you knew the drag queens. Like that was like the sign of the times. Like
they were like superheroes.
They were like, I mean, they are, and they were. There's just like so many superheroes now, but like, yeah, like you knew, and the ones that were like famous, like they were the ones traveling, and even if you weren't on Drag Race, you knew of these certain queens, and each town had their like local legend, and you know there weren't new babies being popped every day, and like you said, drag didn't, and you said a main point is that like. Drag wasn't so accepted that if you chose to be a drag queen, it was like really a lifestyle choice that you had to make.
Well, isn't it sad to think that that feeling that should be so long ago maybe is the only thing us older queens have in common with the younger queens is that they are growing up in a world where drag is now being weaponized and perversified and considered sexualized. Like, to see this happen again is really weird.
No, like so weird. It feels
the one thing us old queens and the new queens kind of have in common that the middle ground got to get away with, because Drag Race certainly made drag commercial.
Mm-hmm.
But the tail begins to wag the dog, not just with the show of Drag Race, where it's becoming its own parody. Politically, the tail's beginning to wag the dog. You give something enough rights and applause, it'll become weaponized. It's really sad to see.
I have something to show you really quick. Aww.
Slay.
You're out.
Oh, that's a test pressing too.
This is the original Sharon Needles.
That's the original one of 1,000 test pressings. Yeah, I'm so glad you leave it out of its case, just plopped up. I'm so glad it's your tray now.
I don't do anymore. I was there for this photo shoot. This was a Matthew Anderson. We never even got to talk about our relationship with Matthew Anderson.
This is a good way to zoom it in. That you were there, photographed by Austin Young, or photographed. It was Austin Young.
Austin Young,
by Matthew Anderson.
Styled by Matthew Anderson. I was there that day. You shot that. That was like another moment for the two of you, for both of us, because we both loved Matthew Anderson. And for those listening that don't know who Matthew Anderson is, go to Google and do your own research. No, but you should.
Considered top 5 best makeup artists in editorial alive. RuPaul's personal makeup artist for 30 years, but did everything from No Scrubs to Return to Saturn. Every makeup music video you remember growing up with, he did it. And I was such a fan and was gaga for him, but he was gaga for us too, which always kind of felt like we were sneaking in, like we were getting extra points. And I didn't like extra points in Drag Race because I wanted to play the game fair and square.
Matthew was like one of the most creative people I'll ever meet in my lifetime. And like hands down. And I remember in like those moments of being present, like telling myself that like, this is the most creative person you're going to meet in your life. Besides Marco, Matthew Anderson is in my top 2. And yeah, he loved us. And
he really loved me.
Oh, he loved Sharon. Loved Sharon. And yeah, and he was really, I think he saw himself in you and you saw yourself in him. And Absolutely. It was this beautiful like projection of one another. And yeah, we got to like work together a lot after the show. I was in your RuPaul music video. I think that might have been one of the real nails in the coffin.
Silence, bring back my girls. I remember doing that. So that was so fun.
I remember that day was so fun. We were all at that skating rink and I was the skate girl.
That's right. Making your snotty face on purpose. A little to wow.
With my fresh tits in the shot.
I remember they provided no costuming for me. So the dress in that video is a garbage bag Matthew Anderson had pulled out of the roller rink's trash can. And you know, that's a genius for you. And if you don't believe that's a genius, Janet Jackson's makeup and Gonna Make Your Body Sweat with Busta Rhymes that he did, which is the second most expensive video ever made, as a giant highlight. And he told me he cut it out of the silver wrapping of a Jolly Rancher out of his pocket.
Oh my God, I love all of our stories. I feel like you've grown a lot.
Well, I've been losing weight. No.
No.
I got that example. No.
That was empty.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
No, we're like
if we've been friends for 15 years and they haven't, and you shouldn't even have to say, I think my friend after 15 years has grown a lot, because that would be an embarrassment on you for keeping friends that don't allow themselves to grow. And the same is back at you, babes. My little dick pig.
Oh my God,
my little dog fucker.
Oh my God, that one's for Marco. Stop.
You know, Perrillo, she likes it. My little dog fucker.
Sharon used to call me a dick pig, and I never even knew what a dick pig was. Like, I was like, I just had never heard that phrase before. Like, you're a little dick pig. And I'm like, what the fuck is a dick pig? And then you drew me an actual dick pig. Oh, so fun. So many memories. I kind of want you to come back, if you will, because then I'll have more to talk about. We talked about our backstory. We talked about what's going on for you right now?
I just got off a Halloween tour, which you know what Halloween does to me. Listeners out there, if there's ever a day you love or anything you love and you win something, don't say it, because it will. When I won, I said Happy Halloween. So that makes Halloween a really hard working time for me. I just had my birthday a few weeks ago, so I took some time off and I flew back to Iowa to go see Joan, who I know my mom is a huge fan of yours, and vice versa. So I spent some time back in Iowa. I'm opening up my disco party in Brooklyn in January called Mirror Mirror on the Ball, Italia disco only. And it helps propel my 5th studio record that came out a little over a year ago, Absolute Zero, my full disco record, because we love disco.
We fucking love the disco.
I love the boogie.
I fucking love it. I really, first of all, Brooklyn, that's so exciting. I'm going to come visit.
Yeah, come stay with us. It's fun.
Oh my God.
I'm not really a Brooklyn girl, so I work in Brooklyn and stay in Manhattan. Come on, we know the gig here's this.
So you're taking a break from Pittsburgh. You're living in Brooklyn. Like, where are you?
No. Just working. Just working. I'm back and forth all the time.
You'll never leave Pittsburgh, will you?
Pittsburgh is a city for everyone. It's just for one person a little bit more, and that person is me.
You love it. And like, I literally remember touching down.
I don't even like talking about it. I don't want anyone coming and ruining it.
Yeah, no one go there. But it's so you. It's so you.
It's heaven on earth. I have my own day here. It's exactly what a city could be. And you can still smoke in bars. Come on now.
How's the blue moon?
Blue moon's still standing.
All right. Well, it was so fun to catch up. Do you have any questions for me?
Absolutely not. There's not a damn thing about you that I don't already know. And I'd only ask questions that would force you to answer things that would embarrass you in front of your millions of listeners. And I want to protect this new adventure you call podcast.
Oh my God, thank you. I'm really having fun. It's been very therapeutic for me. And it feels like it's like the one thing that's like mine.
Same to you. You and me could be talking here for 12 hours today. And unfortunately, your listeners would never be able to experience the bizarre sister, but brother, but best friend, but mom and dad, but rock and roll party hellions experiences that we have. But I only wish that they find their Chanel Perrillo or their Sharon Needles out there and have the opportunity, because I'm a better person to have met you.
I feel the same way.
All
oh my
right.
God. Now tell me to shut up and then you can go have your fucking cigarette.
Chanel, shut the fuck up, and you have no idea how much I want a fucking cigarette.
Oh, I'm fucking out. I love you so much.
Happy Halloween. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
I'll call you. I love you.
Shut up, Chanel.